Hi friends, and welcome to another furniture makeover. Hello and welcome if you're new here. I'm Selena, an interior designer, stylist and furniture finisher based in Sydney. And today I'll be transforming this boring dresser into something fun and stylish for a kid's room. If you're interested in starting furniture flipping or want to learn how to paint your own pieces for your own home, then today's video is all about how you can chalk paint and wax furniture that will be durable and beautiful. So you want to see how this boring dresser gets made over? Continue watching. This cute 5-drawer dresser is a thrift find that I picked up for $30, and I thought it'd be a really cute, fun little piece to make over. There's a few scratches and I can tell that this is not solid timber, so I'm going to be painting the top, fixing up these scuff marks, and I think I'm going to be sanding back these little pulls and sanding the front 2 drawers, because where I can I always like to add a bit of timber. Just has a nice warmth and texture to it and just makes a piece pop out a bit more, and then painting the rest. And so I'm first going to begin on a scuff sand and removing these 3M hooks as well. So I'd assumed these were actually screwed in, but as you can see, no screws to be found and they've just been glued on. So I think I'm going to change tact, and I might still be able to sand around this, so I might have to hand sand a little bit around that, and then I might paint this to match the colour, and maybe I'll paint all the other ones. So at this stage of the flip, I wasn't sure where I was going with it. I thought I was going to sand and expose all the drawer knobs, but because I couldn't unscrew them, it actually made that concept a little bit difficult. So I ended up changing plans and just sanding one of the drawer fronts just to see how the sanding of that raw timber was going to look. So I ended up doing that off camera as I wasn't sure how this would look for the overall. So I did a test piece on this first dresser. After sanding this test drawer, I ended up putting in some timber filler onto the top surface, as there was quite a few dents and scratches, and to make sure this was a clean and smooth surface on top, I wanted to make sure I filled in any dents. And the best way of checking this is to run your hand over the top of the surface, just feel any imperfections, and then from there you can fill in those parts as well. So I'll just let this dry for about 2 hours and then get on to making the cover. Anytime I'm creating custom colours, I always like to paint out a test swatch to make sure it's the colour that I'm liking and wanting to then apply. For this dress I wanted to create a teal tone. The first colouring was a bit too light, so I ended up adding a bit more navy and a bit of green and created a bit of a richer teal tone, and I was much happier with that second swatch. After about 2 hours the timber putty has dried, so I'm just giving it a light sand over with a 180 grit and then giving the surface a thorough clean before beginning the first coat. When applying the first coat of chalk paint, depending on the brand and consistency of your paint, either it will be a little bit streaky, and that's okay, you can either sand that out later on in between your coats, or you can water it down with a mister. Here with Porter's paint, I just make sure that I apply light coats and do long even strokes as I'm painting each coat. Here I'm taping around the drawer pull to make sure I don't have any colouring bleeding through into the raw timber. Using a small artist brush is a lot more convenient and gives you more control when painting smaller, thinner areas, and that way I can get into all the crevices. Here's how the dresser is looking after one coat. Chalk paint does usually dry a lot deeper than how it paints, so it's always good just to wait until the piece is dried just to assess if you're liking the colour or not. And I'm happy with the direction, and we'll let this dry for another hour or two. Now we're on to the second coat, and here I'm just applying it with a nice thick chalk brush, and what I find really useful is when I'm doing the second and third coat to actually spray a bit of water on top of the surface that I'm painting. This helps the chalk paint just to spread a bit more smoothly and evenly. Also, painting in small sections bit by bit means you get less strip marks and helps reduce the brush strokes as well. The vision I had for this two-tone dresser was to have a whitewash drawer front. So here I'm just applying a water-based whitewash stain over the raw timber finish. To see how this whitewash texture looks against the colouring. I'm just putting it back in and just stepping back and assessing if I like the overall combination. And I don't know, there's something that just doesn't feel right. I really thought the whitewash draw front with the colour draw pull would be a really nice feature, but it just looked a bit messy and I just didn't really feel it added anything to the overall piece. So I decided to paint the draw front a different colour instead. So I went for something a bit lighter, sort of like a softer blue, and felt this was a much better direction. It just felt a bit more complementary to the teal tone. It also made it look a lot more playful and fun, but just to be sure that this was the right direction, I decided to paint the other draw front in the same solid colour, just to see if I should keep it as one colour blocking draw front or go for the nice touch of the contrast with the draw pull and the draw front. And I quite liked that the painted draw front gave it a bit more of a contrast and tied in the colours of the rest of the dresser base. So I went with that direction and then moved on to the third coat. Now we get to the last step and we can seal our chalk painted furniture. I love using wax as I find the matte finish gives it a really nice soft sheen and it is a really durable finish. You can use a poly coat, but I find it's a lot messier to apply and sometimes it can provide a yellowing on the colour over time. I just find clear wax is a really good product to use. It can feel intimidating, but I find that if you are working in circular motions and then going horizontally and vertically, it allows the wax to get into all the pores as chalk paint is a bit more porous and textured. And then all you do is grab a lint-free cloth and wipe off the excess. I generally like to apply wax with an old chalk brush. I find that the bristles get into all the nooks and crannies really well with that chalk finish, but you can use it with a cloth, and so I'll use one cloth to wipe it on and another to wipe it off. Let this cure for about 3 or 4 days, and depending on the type of wax you use, it might take longer, but usually after a few days the wax cures and it is then ready for everyday use. In total, this flip took about 4 hours to make over. And though there are a few hiccups in the beginning and a few changes, that's the nature of making over a furniture piece and just figuring out the problems as they come. So here's a reminder of where we began and what this flip looks like now. What do you think of the two-tone combination that I painted on this dresser? I'd love to read your comments below. You can see with chalk paint, it is a really simple and easy way of adding a lot of fun and style to a really boring and drab furniture piece. And a clean line, very basic dresser like this is the perfect piece to begin with. I hope you learned some useful tips on how you can transform furniture with chalk paint and wax. Make sure you subscribe so you can be notified for my next flip, which would be these bedsides, and I'm going to be transforming them into something pretty modern and glam. So thanks for watching and see you next time.